All right, I'm going to rudely keep my phone out because we're tracking the Congresswoman arriving, and when she does get here, we'll all pause our conversation. But I want to just introduce quickly for those who don't know, Lisa is the Senior Vice President and Director of Business Development and Affordable Housing at U.S. Bank, and Dan Nissenbaum is the CEO of the Low Income Investment Fund. So thanks for joining me for this closing fireside chat. We really like to take the time with two of our members, two of our leaders who represent NAAHL's public-private partnership model. So we have someone coming to us from an immense amount of experience in the banking and private sector. But Dan, you also come with private sector experience, but now you are leading the charge at one of the largest CDFIs as well. So I'm curious to hear from both of you, what were your big takeaways from today? Was there anything that surprised you or you found particularly interesting to hear today?
There were so many things, I think, today, really focusing on kind of the wins of this year. I know we have like wins of change, but we need to focus on kind of how far we've come in the year and worked really hard just with I'm personally involved with the housing credit at U.S. Bank, working in affordable housing finance. And so I think that that's something that we heard lots and celebrated. I think one of the things that really stuck out was with Rodney Hood's comments when he said housing policy is not just economic policy, but human policy. And that was just such a huge takeaway just from the get-go, just setting the stage for this. Like, we're talking about people, we're talking about lives, housing folks. And so I think that piece, really kind of set the stage for the day. I think that we can get really lost as housers and get the work that we do is very complicated. And so I think that we really need to work on, and we heard from so many different panelists today, that we need to be succinct with our comments. We need to be able to tell our story, our elevator pitch, quickly and be able to get our point across. And I think that we really need to be storytelling out there, taking our local representatives out to developments, showing them how this housing is transforming lives, I think is key. That's the best story we can tell, right? So these are kind of the key takeaways that I think we should all be thinking about. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo that. It was such a rich day. It was such an incredible set of panels. I was scribbling notes, as you can tell. I mean, two words really stuck out to me. One is complexity and the other one is intermediation. And I think you've outlined it perfectly. We've all heard today that the need in our communities is so significant. We've also heard today, this has been a great room to be in as a CDFI, by the way. I feel so much better than when I came in. The support for our work is broad and it's deep and it's remarkable. So what is it that we're doing and what is it that people want to help us with? It's continuing to fill these gaps. But that by definition is what we do. So there's just this tension between making it an easy story and an easy case and explaining what we do. In fact, sometimes I never actually want to say the word CDFI because somebody's like, what's that? Well, how does that work? Well, tell me more. Well, now I'm confused. And you just want to say we're a social impact fund. We do great things and finance affordable housing. So I do think an amazing theme for us to think about is how to make our case making even stronger, how to simplify our message. We build affordable housing, we create jobs, we provide childcare that fuels economic growth and prosperity. That's a very strong message. And we've built a whole system around it. And somehow we're just whipsawed in this moment with some political views that are antithetical to that. But we've been here, we've been through these cycles before, we have a lot of support around us, and I feel very optimistic about how we can move forward.
Good. So as we continue to move forward, let's talk about some of the undeniable conditions that our sector will continue to have to navigate. Obviously, we know that we will continue to have to deal with challenges coming from a particular part of the administration, but that we're really benefiting from growing bipartisan and cross-sector support. Some of the things I see are continued constraints with funding and certainly federal resources, while at the same time, the communities we serve are having growing needs. We heard a lot of statistics from the various panels about how hard it is to afford a home, whether you're a renter or a homeowner. We have a lot of new challenges ranging from the kind of consequences of tariffs, rising insurance, greater levels of natural disasters, labor shortages. So again, we have a lot of resource constraints, not just on the, I'm really taking us down the.
I know, where are we going? I mean,
I was
let's
optimistic.
bring
a
it
minute ago.
back,
Now I'm
yeah.
not.
Bring it back, we'll bring it back, okay. So resource constraint, not just in funding, but also candidly our attention spans, right? You know, we're sending out advocacy alerts on multiple topics every week. But, okay, bringing it back, growing common ground. We're gonna come out of this, I think, stronger with more partnerships. It's always interesting to see what partnerships are born out of a crisis, more unison from the industry, that we need stability in our policies. You know, we did come out of a chapter where a lot of new things were proposed, and right now we just are like, we need stability to do what we know how to do well. But what are some of the things you think our sector will really have to navigate?
You know, I just want to make sure that we don't kind of squander this moment that we have with, again, with all of the wins this year. You know, I think you said in your opening remarks, Sarah, you know, housing is a top 3 issue right now. And so I believe that we need to build upon the momentum, the partnerships, everything that we've kind of built over the course of the year. We also need to innovate, you know. I love your 3 capital stack solution, but, you know, I hope that we can get there at some point, but it feels like the stack is much bigger than that. So let's maybe go from like 6 to 3 to, you know, but I do think that we need to take the time now to build upon the momentum, innovate, think about ways that we can build housing more cost effectively. I think that that's, you know, one of the major threats.
I'm gonna pause us.
Yeah.
Our Congresswoman is here.
All right.
So sorry.
To be continued.
To be continued. Hold that thought. So, thank you, Lisa and Dan, but we're going to take a quick pause because we want to introduce Congresswoman Young Kim, who represents California's 40th District. She's a member of the House Financial Services Committee, where she's been a champion for CDFIs, and just recently, she and Senator Mike Crapo led the bicameral letter signed by over 100 Republicans in the House and the Senate, emphasizing the vital role of the CDFI fund and staff. She's also an advocate for bipartisan solutions to support financial opportunity and public-private partnerships that drive affordable housing, everything we love. And I do want to say we're really excited today that there was legislation on the House side introduced to raise the PWI cap, a top priority for NAAHL and its members that would need advanced zero to housing. You're very excited about that. So thank you, Congresswoman Kim, for your leadership, and please come on up.
Thank you, Sarah. And I am so sorry for interrupting a wonderful panel conversation here. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Washington, D.C. How many of you are from out of town? Good, most of you. Yes, yes. I wish Congress was open for business, so you can also come on the Hill and do the door knocking too, because many of us would love to see you in person and have a deeper conversation about the issues that you care about. But I'm the best one you're going to get anyway, right? So I represent California's 48th congressional district, and my district in Southern California has one of the largest financial institutions, which is why when I was first elected, I asked and I worked so hard to get on the House Financial Services Committee so I can push for policies that will be helpful for the financial institutions and also for many institutions that support the communities and provide the access to capital that they need, which is a lot of the work that you're doing here. But today, I also want to echo, before I say a few words, congratulations on your 35th anniversary. This is truly a milestone that deserves celebrating, and I'm here to offer my personal congratulations for that. And I also want to take a moment to recognize the vital role NAAHL is playing in addressing our housing needs and support the economic opportunities. As mentioned, I serve on the House Financial Services Committee, but I also serve as a co-chair of the Financial Literacy and Wealth Creation Caucus. This is a bipartisan caucus, and my colleagues and I, we are committed to advancing policies that promote economic opportunity and financial education that will help people achieve the American dream of home ownership and start a business and build generational wealth. That's what I try to do in the caucus, but also on the House Financial Services Committee. We're working to ensure that every American, regardless of what zip code you live in, regardless of what ethnic background you're from, regardless of who you are, where you live, that they have the tools to make informed financial decisions, and NAAHL is a key partner in that mission. That's why I've been proud to stand with NAAHL and so many of you in supporting the Community Development Financial Institution Fund, and that's the one that you just mentioned. The CDFI, of course, in your introduction. I led a bicameral letter with Senator Crapo when I found out early on that this was at risk of being eliminated, right? So together we talked to my colleagues, and to be exact, 105 Republican members have signed this letter, and we sent it to the administration. Secretary Treasury Bassett and OMB Director Ross Vaught, urging their continued support for the fund and its dedicated office, because the CDFI fund provides critical resources to financial institutions, the mission-driven lenders serving especially the low-income and underserved communities that traditional banking may not be able to provide. So, because I know when we invest in CDFIs, we invest in economic opportunities, resilience, and equity. We're also building on that progress through new legislation like the Community Investment Prosperity Act. I'm co-leading that with my colleague, Mike Lawler. And I'm really excited that this bill will raise the public welfare investment cap from 15% to 20%, giving banks more flexibility to invest in affordable housing and community development projects that will also create a lot of jobs and opportunities. And you know, I've been on the record for being a very, very strong advocate for LIHTC legislation that was also signed into law through the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. So it is Working Families Tax Cuts Act, right? Let's call it for what it is, but it's one big beautiful bill. When we give our banks the tools they need to invest in our communities, guess what? Main Street wins. The Community Investment and Prosperity Act is a common sense way to strengthen our neighborhoods, empower local partners, and make the dream of home ownership more affordable and attainable for many American families. And the partnerships represented in this room between lenders, CDFIs, and the community organization really show what's possible when we work together. We don't have to choose between fiscal responsibility and compassion. We can do both by investing wisely in people and our communities. So I want to thank you again for your advocacy, for the entire NAAHL team, for your leadership over the last 35 years. I look forward to continuing our work together as you unite around this importance of expanding our housing supply to bring down the housing costs and make affordable housing and home ownership possible, not just in one community, but across the United States. And to see that you are from all over the United States, you're going to go back home and help many families achieve that American dream of home ownership. Remember, you're not just financial institutions. You are community builders. And I'm proud to stand with you in Congress to ensure that your tremendous impact continues to grow. I really appreciate you having me here. We may be in government shutdown, but you know what? I think we're going to see some breakthrough this week. And I'll be back, continue to advocate on your behalf. But if you need anything from me, from my office, Where's Jalia, my policy advisor, who helps me on my work in the House Financial Services Committee? Okay, it's hard to see him, but I want you to remember his name, Jalia Nagawate. Just call him on. Sarah, you can call him anytime, and I'm here for you. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your visit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Do a quick photo. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Carry on.
As you were saying,
Well, that was energizing.
so wonderful.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to let Dan take over now.
I don't know what we're talking about. I think that was it.
I mean,
Mic drop.
that was for
That was
one
a
of the
mic
two
drop.
sponsors of the letter. That was sort of amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she was here. You were talking about undeniable conditions.
Undeniable conditions. We have growing, incredible champions on both sides of the aisle. What are other things that we're going to be navigating?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to list all the pain points, but I do think, to be clear, we're saying a lot of the same things. The need is extremely high. The demand is extremely high for CDFI loans, for instance. Our portfolios are stressed. I mean, let's just be clear. Everybody's watching us. We're strong. We have net assets. Most of us will all be fine. And with support, we'll get through this. But, here we are again, I think, being asked to be like the shock absorber in this economy. We did it through COVID. We did it through the post-COVID, period. We've done it through disaster relief. Now we have a man-made disaster. And if and as, right, we rely on $1 of CDFI grants to help our net assets. We borrow $4 of bank debt to make loans. We go make loans. We rinse and repeat, and that's our success in leveraging these dollars. We find ourselves at this moment where it feels a little existential for us, right? I mean, our source of equity capital grant is challenged. We hope to get that back. CRA, we feel pretty good about, but you never know right now, right? HUD, we make these loans, we look for those full construction loan financings to come together to repay my very sizable portfolio of pre-development and acquisition loans. And this is the point we've been trying to make, is that it's great that LIHTC got expanded. That's fantastic. But if you don't have the other sources of capital that we know you need to pull those deals together, then those things get delayed and they take time. So CDFIs have been managing these portfolios and extending, because we are patient lenders. That's our job. That's who we are. That's why we get the support. We've been balancing the needs of our borrowers with the needs of our capital. And that's a lot of pressure. So, we're in this moment where we're kind of feeling the pressures from all sides. We are cautiously optimistic. We need these portfolios to continue to move and revolve. That's what creates the 9-to-1 or 12-to-1 leverage, however you want to define that, which is, by the way, a pretty small amount of resources, $300 million to support a $450 billion industry. But that's what we do. We revolve this. I'll say one more thing and stop. Sorry, you got me really going. But so it's a challenging moment, feels existential, but as you've noted, we can and we should be innovating. And I think we are helping state and local, and we are helping federal government to accomplish their priorities. We developed a bridge loan for LIHTC developers who were in the middle of a project. The project stalled. Time went on. We financed their developer fee in the middle to give them critically needed working capital so that they could actually finish that project. It was money today for money tomorrow, but we're here to make sure these projects continue. And as Desiree said earlier, last thing I'll say and I'll stop, we're at the front end of all this. If it wasn't for the pre-development loans or the acquisition loans, we wouldn't be able to help that pipeline of LIHTC deals. So we are a part of this, and it is crucial, and we need that time and the patience to be able to support our portfolios, and that's why we need the federal government as a partner and banks as a partner.
Well, and I just want to translate that to some of the advocacy work and how we're seeing an evolution in how we show up every day, because to your point, a capital stack has many sources. And I think in Washington, there are many different trades and organizations who come to the table for a particular issue. But I think what we've seen over the last few weeks in particular is that we really need all hands on deck.
Absolutely.
And we need the LIHTC industry to advocate for raising the PWI cap and then to show up for the home bill. We need the new markets tax credits to stick together with CDFIs because that's how the CDFI fund works. We're not really in a position where folks are like, this is the one thing I care about, and I'm only gonna spend my political capital on this, because at the end of the day, if a piece of the Jenga game falls apart, as we put in our last policy brief, your LIHTC deal would fall apart. Your HUD resources wouldn't actually have any gap they're filling. And so I think that's changing kind of how people in Washington work together. It is, I'll share, we got a really funny call. We work with Senator Warner's office very closely, and we had put in the request for the video under the framework that we're on the phone with them once a week about Neighborhood Homes Investment Act. And then Connor, who leads the CDFI work, we were on the phone every day for a few weeks there, was like, is this the same NAAHL? I'm confused. You guys are also doing CDFI advocacy work? And I was like, yes, and we're also doing Road to Housing and the CDFI. But and then the senator's video reflects that. He talks about CDFIs, he talks about neighborhood homes, he talks about CRA, because at the end of the day, we are all working towards the same goal, and it's just not going to be as neat.
Well, and yeah, it's totally a both and approach, and I just want to give a shout out to NAAHL and to you, Sarah, because over this past year, I don't know if we would have been able to kind of all row, I heard it today, row in the same direction without the leadership, the thought leadership, the data-driven approach, just the all hands on deck that NAAHL has kind of convened. So we can't stress that enough. I think that you deserve a round of applause for that, Sarah.
It's a village effort.
Yeah, and I think it underscores the importance of being a member of NAAHL. I think that we take that very seriously at US Bank. I know that Dan's organization does too, and the many members that are in the room. There is a cost to it, and you get what you pay for. But I do think that without your thought leadership and being able to bring all of the voices together, I'm not sure we would be in this place today with just the progress we've made.
Membership can guarantee you a full inbox from me and my team.
Yes. The hottest email listserv you can be on. Yep.
Well, another way to put it is that in some ways we were made for this moment, but in other ways we hired for this moment.
Yes, yes.
Well, I hired too, which is a great reminder.
Yes, the team, can't
Megan,
forget.
Aaron, Emily, Christina, we've built an incredible team, so thank you so much, and a lot more work to come. I want to be mindful that we have a lot of folks traveling, and we want to make sure we all get out there, but I want to close with both of you to share kind of some reflections as leaders in your sector. I want to hear from each of you what you have to say to your peers in terms of, what's your call to action to your peers? And again, for me, who lives in the policy space, and the best policy work to do is one where you're representing and getting to learn from people in practitioners doing the as we say, the real work. And I think for me, my takeaway for policy folks in Washington is, we are all going to have to evolve. And we're going to have to work together in ways we might not have worked together before, because this moment demands it. And I think we have to be very disciplined to continue to protect housing. I say it just so many times, as a nonpartisan priority. And we will go the farthest and be the most sustainable in our advocacy if we continue to cultivate these bipartisan champions, because this is what American voters want. This is what America needs. And I think we will continue to see elections based on affordability and cost of living, with housing at the top of that. But I'm curious for you, as you go back to your day jobs in your particular sectors, what do you want your peers to take away from this?
Yeah, I think that, again, we need to continue with our advocacy efforts and being able to tell our story. I think that we can't rest on innovation. We need to find creative, innovative financing solutions. Again, I work for a bank, so we can be as innovative as possible, but we have to be able to embrace kind of new ways to build this housing. I think the cost to build, especially on the multifamily side, cost per unit, is a threat on our industry, and we need to find a way to find innovative ways to either build, do it faster and quicker, because time, I think, is the worst enemy to getting this housing built, because the more time that passes, interest rates change, credit pricing changes, you're dealing with all types of building material costs going up. So I think that that's the piece. We all need to be working on innovative solutions to get this housing built, because we can't squander the kind of public-private partnership we have and the momentum that we've built and the resources that we've been able to generate for this. We can't kind of let that go. So I think everybody needs to lean into that.
Great. So I have a three-part message. It's not just a call to action to our peers. So I would say, it's been a great day. A lot of important things were said, and a lot of that had to do with the regulatory framework. So I would say first, to the regulators, and I'm speaking as a CDFI, and I'm channeling my CDFI peers, CRA matters. CRA really matters. It feels like that's true. We're not always sure that's true, and we'll fight like hell to make sure that that is true and that support stays there. And we have wonderful people as bank partners who've been with us for decades. I did think about trying to shout out somebody here and there, but I have 33 banks, so we'd be here for another hour. So I think to the regulators that matters. And I do think if we're facing a different political environment and a whole different set of needs and a whole different disaffected set of constituents in some ways. So find ways to give banks the opportunity and the flexibility to work with us as partners for CDFIs who can extend banks' reach by virtue of products or by virtue of geographies. So keep trying to provide that flexibility, because the banks are telling us, the way that feels, you're really important, but frankly, you're pretty small weight in the overall rating that we get. So I would just throw that thing out there. I know that sounds a little technical, but I think it's really important. For banks, we love you. And you're amazing, and you help us a lot. So I think a lot of things are true. Keep working with us. Help us maintain that patient capital. We all know that you're under pressure. We all know you're getting calls from your Treasury. We all know your credit officers don't want to hear from you for waivers, but we need your advocacy, and we know we have it. And if I could push one more thing just a little bit more, don't give up on special purpose credit programs. And I say that to regulators, and I say that to banks, and I say that to CDFIs. They're really important. We're doing several of them. We are working with targeted populations. We're doing one based on experience-based underwriting that we think could be lifted up and replicated, and many of the banks in this room have helped us with that, and we're finding its performance to be on par with everything else that we do. This is a really important thing for us to help advance our mission. And in fact, Urban Institute is doing an evaluation of this program, so we're very excited about it. To my peers, I would just say, we all meet each other in the hallway and we say, how you doing? And there really aren't words. And so I think for CDFI leaders, they're also acting as shock absorbers. They're really, we're managing all of our stakeholders. We're trying to lead our organizations. We have a lot of people who are so committed to the mission, who are distraught, very upset in terms of the signals that they're getting. We know we've done great work. We know we're going to come out of this on the other end pretty well. But I just, look for their resilience. I look to them for my resilience. And I think the CDFI industry is a band of brothers and sisters and everything that's really been a great partner to banks, but will get us through what we're going through now.
Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers, and also what I'm hearing, and I think we can all relate, is just taking the time to recharge, because we have 3 years ahead of us of more twists and turns, I'm sure. And so with that, I just want to thank both of you for the work you do and for your support of NAAHL, as well as everyone in this room. We are going to now take some time to recharge over cocktails and food in the lounge next door. So again, thank you all so much for a really great day.
Thank you.